Marriage is a remarkable institution, but like any long-term commitment, it comes with its own set of challenges. As men age, many find themselves feeling distant or even resentful toward their spouses. Let's be clear, this isn't because men are inherently unappreciative or because women are difficult. The truth is far more grounded and, quite frankly, much more within our control than we often admit. Life has a subtle yet persistent way of shifting priorities. At the beginning of a relationship, passion seems effortless. There's excitement, novelty, and an organic pull toward one another. Conversations flow easily, laughter comes naturally, and every little interaction feels significant. But as time progresses, something shifts. The same two people who once felt inseparable slowly begin to resemble business associates, co-managing a shared life, rather than truly experiencing it together. This change isn't necessarily the result of fading love. More often, it's the slow, creeping replacement of intimacy with routine and obligation. Everyday life demands structure. Bills must be paid, work deadlines loom, and if children are involved, the sheer weight of parenting consumes a considerable portion of both partners' energy. What was once a connection fueled by fascination and admiration becomes a system driven by habit. Wake up, go to work, manage responsibilities, handle chores, sleep, and repeat. In the early phases, spontaneity feels natural. But with time, every action becomes deliberate, every decision dictated by necessity rather than desire. The problem doesn't lie in responsibility itself. In fact, responsibility is crucial for stability. The issue arises when the relationship becomes solely about duties. When nurturing connection and intimacy is no longer prioritized, resentment starts to take root. A man who once admired his wife's vibrancy and zest may now see only fatigue and distraction. A woman who once saw her husband as driven and captivating may now see someone constantly stressed and emotionally unavailable. The qualities that initially sparked mutual attraction don't necessarily disappear, but they get buried, obscured by the weight of daily obligations. Another significant factor is how both individuals respond to this gradual change. Many people hold the belief that passion should remain naturally alive, that true love should feel effortless if it's genuine. But passion, much like physical health, requires consistent care. If someone stops exercising, their body weakens. Similarly, if a couple stops investing in their emotional bond, that connection begins to erode. When partners stop engaging each other beyond logistics and responsibilities, they slowly drift apart. The emotional intimacy fades, and the vibrant relationship that once felt alive begins to lose its spark. In the beginning, both partners make deliberate efforts. They dress to impress, engage in thoughtful discussions, and listen with genuine interest. Over time, comfort sets in. And while there's beauty in being at ease with a partner, comfort that slides into complacency leads to trouble. When effort vanishes completely, the relationship begins to deteriorate. A man who no longer challenges himself or seeks personal growth may no longer resemble the man his wife once found inspiring. A woman who stops prioritizing emotional connection, allowing exhaustion to dictate her every mood and interaction, may no longer feel like the woman her husband once eagerly pursued. Another subtle yet destructive change is the loss of appreciation. Early in a relationship, small gestures are acknowledged and deeply valued. A thoughtful compliment, a simple act of kindness, a warm glance. These moments matter. But as routine settles in, these gestures become expected, then unnoticed, and eventually non-existent. A man who once felt appreciated for his contributions may now feel his efforts are invisible. A woman who once felt cherished may now feel like she's fading into the background. As appreciation dwindles, resentment takes its place. But this situation isn't about assigning fault. It's about gaining insight. Passion doesn't suddenly vanish. It's gradually worn away by neglect. It's lost in the quiet decision to stop putting in the effort, in the slow surrender to routine, and in the passive shift from intention to autopilot. When partners stop seeing each other as people to be cherished and begin viewing one another as mere roles in a shared system, the emotional richness disappears. This decline isn't a dramatic collapse. It's more of a slow drift. And if this drift isn't interrupted with purposeful action, it leaves two people living side by side but feeling worlds apart. In the early stages of a relationship, partners look at each other as complex, fascinating individuals. They're curious, eager to understand each other's thoughts, desires, histories, and dreams. Conversations have depth. There's admiration, wonder, and excitement in discovering who the other person really is. Over time, though, something shifts. As routines deepen and responsibilities multiply, this curiosity fades. Instead of seeing each other as dynamic, evolving individuals, partners begin to reduce one another to predictable patterns and assigned responsibilities. A husband who once admired his wife's brilliance, creativity, and drive may now see only her domestic roles and daily exhaustion. A wife who once admired her husband's charisma, determination, and intellect may now see only the stressed-out provider. The nuances of personality, the subtle qualities that once made each partner magnetic, become overshadowed by the mechanical day-to-day grind. Slowly, meaningful dialogue gives way to surface-level coordination. The curiosity is replaced by assumption. Admiration becomes indifference, hidden under layers of responsibility. One of the biggest problems with this shift is how partners start to take each other for granted. In the beginning, every little detail about the other person is intriguing. The way they laugh, their perspective on things, their habits and values. All of it feels important. But as familiarity increases, those details are taken as a given, then ignored, and eventually forgotten. The partner you live with becomes a version built from outdated memories rather than present understanding. A man might assume his wife is the same person he married years ago, missing how she's grown, adapted, or changed. A woman may think she knows her husband completely, failing to notice how his thoughts, goals, and struggles have evolved. As a result, both begin to feel unseen, unappreciated, and misunderstood. A man might sense that his wife no longer acknowledges his ambitions or inner battles. A woman may feel her husband no longer values her insights or notices her daily efforts. This creates emotional distance, rising frustration, and, in many cases, quiet detachment. Again, it's not necessarily a matter of lost love. It's a failure to recognize and appreciate each other as continually growing people. This absence of recognition chips away at connection. Emotional intimacy weakens when partners stop exploring who the other person has become. They stop sharing meaningful thoughts, fears, dreams. They stop asking real questions. They stop being intrigued by one another. Without curiosity, without the desire to rediscover and reappreciate, the relationship slowly goes flat. It becomes routine, predictable, and eventually hollow. Reversing this pattern demands intentionality. It takes a conscious decision to look at your partner with fresh eyes, to ask, "Who are you now?" rather than assuming you already know. It requires making the choice to stay present, to be engaged, to maintain interest in one another's inner lives. People change, and a healthy relationship is one that allows both partners to grow and evolve while still being seen and valued along the way. At the start of a relationship, effort flows easily. Partners do the little things. They dress nicely for each other, initiate thoughtful conversations, offer affection, and make the other person feel important. Time together is prioritized. Communication is open. Affection is generous and heartfelt. But as the comfort of familiarity sets in, and the pile of responsibilities grows, that energy fades. There's no malice in this fading. Often, it's the result of fatigue and distraction, not indifference. But the consequences are the same. What once felt vibrant and emotionally rich now feels like maintenance. The partnership, once alive with wonder, now runs on routine. It's not about returning to the early days or replicating the honeymoon phase. It's about creating a relationship that adapts and deepens over time. A love that matures but doesn't go numb. A connection that evolves rather than decays. That kind of relationship requires attention, not just to what your partner does, but to who they are becoming. It means staying curious, asking meaningful questions, noticing the subtle changes. It means giving compliments that matter, showing appreciation without being prompted, and never assuming you've learned everything there is to know about the person you share your life with. In the end, passion doesn't evaporate on its own. It withers when ignored. It slips away when we forget to feed it. But it can also be revived, through awareness, through effort, and through the choice to keep seeing and valuing each other as individuals, not just partners in survival. The once thoughtful gestures become increasingly rare, the deep conversations turn into short exchanges about logistics, and the desire to impress is gradually replaced by the assumption that the relationship will simply maintain itself. When this shift occurs, resentment begins to develop, often silently at first, but steadily forming a wall between two people who were once deeply connected. One of the most significant contributors to resentment in long-term relationships is the sensation of being taken for granted. As intentional effort fades, appreciation often disappears right along with it. A man who once felt admired for his drive and dedication may now feel that his efforts are merely expected, not truly acknowledged. A woman who once felt treasured for her emotional support and kindness might now feel that her contributions are invisible. Without continuous effort, both partners begin to feel unrecognized, unseen, and ultimately insignificant. This isn't about lavish displays of affection or endless praise. It's about the small, steady acts that communicate someone still matters. As the effort fades, emotional separation grows. In the early stages of a relationship, both individuals actively listen, ask questions, and engage deeply. But when complacency sets in, those meaningful exchanges give way to mechanical conversations. Instead of truly listening, couples begin assuming they already know what the other person will say. This lack of engagement sends a quiet but powerful message. You're no longer interesting enough for me to invest in. Over time, this erodes emotional intimacy, leading both partners to feel isolated, even while sharing the same space. Physical effort is another essential component. Attraction and intimacy don't sustain themselves without thought and intention. Many people, after securing a long-term partner, begin neglecting the same levels of self-care, presentation, and personal energy they once maintained. This isn't merely about looking good for a partner. It's about retaining self-worth and continuing to present oneself as someone worthy of admiration. When physical effort declines, it can unintentionally signal a lack of desire or motivation to remain attractive to one's partner. Similarly, when physical affection is neglected, when touch becomes rare or occurs only out of routine rather than love, the connection begins to fade. This eventually breeds frustration, a sense of rejection, and in many cases, resentment. Effort also plays a pivotal role in conflict resolution. In the beginning, disagreements are handled with care, patience, and a real desire to understand and resolve differences. But over time, many couples stop investing in constructive communication. Instead of facing problems directly, they avoid them, dismiss them, or recycle the same arguments without ever reaching a solution. This avoidance creates a backlog of unresolved grievances, which can turn into bitterness. The refusal to address emotional needs sends a clear signal. Your concerns don't matter enough for me to fix this. This slow breakdown from lack of effort is rarely dramatic. It happens quietly, when gratitude is assumed instead of spoken, when presence is taken for granted rather than cherished, and when affection is given from duty rather than genuine desire. What follows is an increasing emotional emptiness, a vague sense that something essential is missing, even if neither person can pinpoint when the change occurred. Resentment is seldom caused by one major event. More often, it's the result of accumulated moments of disappointment, each one rooted in an absence of deliberate effort. If ignored long enough, it can grow into a feeling that the emotional gap is too wide to bridge. Respect is the cornerstone of any meaningful relationship. Without it, love cannot thrive. And without love, a relationship begins to deteriorate into a transaction, one where obligation replaces emotional closeness. At the beginning of a relationship, respect flows easily. Partners admire each other, recognize each other's strengths, and take each other's thoughts and emotions seriously. But if that mutual respect isn't consistently nurtured, love begins to decay and resentment slowly takes its place. One of the earliest signs that respect is slipping is when one or both people stop valuing the other's perspective. Early on, there's genuine curiosity, a desire to understand the other's point of view, to seek their guidance, to listen when they speak. As familiarity grows, that desire often fades. A partner might begin to dismiss the other's thoughts, interrupt during conversations, or behave as though their opinion lacks importance. This sends a deeply damaging message. What you think doesn't matter. Over time, such behaviors chip away at the core of the relationship, leaving one or both individuals feeling disregarded, unimportant, and emotionally disconnected. Another way respect fades is through the diminishing of appreciation. In the early days, partners express gratitude for the smallest things, be it a kind word, emotional encouragement, or simply being present. As time passes, these moments are taken for granted. A husband who once admired his wife's warmth and effort may stop acknowledging her support, chalking it up to expected behavior. A wife who once valued her husband's reliability and determination might begin expecting his contributions without offering recognition. When appreciation vanishes, motivation follows. When someone feels that their efforts don't matter, they stop making them. This deepens the distance, fostering dissatisfaction and disconnect. Disrespect also creeps in through the way partners communicate. Words carry immense power. Over time, the tone and manner of communication either strengthen a relationship or weaken it. In healthy relationships, even during arguments, couples maintain a level of kindness and respect. They argue to resolve, not to injure. But when respect has eroded, communication becomes toxic. It may include sarcasm, condescension, passive-aggressive remarks, or outright hostility. Small instances, like an eye roll, a cutting comment, or speaking over the other, might seem minor on their own, but they add up. They create an environment where one or both partners feel belittled and disrespected. Respect also includes encouraging and supporting each other's personal growth. In a thriving relationship, both people continue to evolve, pursue passions, and overcome challenges. A respectful partner cheers on this growth, shares in the excitement of accomplishments, and stands by during setbacks. But when respect is lost, that support can turn to discouragement. One might question the other's dreams, minimize their goals, or make them feel selfish for wanting more. Phrases like, "Why bother with that?" or "You should be focusing on us," not that, might seem harmless but often stem from insecurity or lack of understanding. These words plant seeds of doubt and eventually resentment, as one partner feels held back rather than empowered. At its core, respect is the foundation that allows love to flourish. Love without respect often devolves into control, dependency, or disconnection. When respect is present, both partners feel heard, valued, and appreciated, which strengthens love over time. Without it, love begins to crumble, replaced by resentment, dissatisfaction, and emotional isolation. A fulfilling relationship isn't built solely on passion or chemistry. It's built on the daily choice to see and value the other person, not just as a partner, but as a whole, evolving human being. It's about showing kindness, maintaining admiration, and continually choosing to uplift and respect each other. At the beginning of a relationship, expectations are often shaped by idealism, desire, and the hope that love alone will guarantee happiness. Both partners enter with personal visions of what a lasting relationship should be, often influenced by upbringing, social standards, or romantic portrayals in media. While these expectations aren't inherently unrealistic, they can become problematic when they clash with reality. As unmet expectations accumulate, they can lead to disappointment, emotional withdrawal, and resentment. One of the most common sources of frustration is the belief that love should always be easy. Early on, love feels natural. Emotions run high, affection flows freely, and the connection feels effortless. Many assume that these feelings will continue indefinitely, that if you've chosen the right partner, love will never feel like work. But the truth is that lasting relationships require intention, compromise, and ongoing investment. As the initial intensity fades, some begin to feel that something is wrong, that perhaps they made a mistake, or that the relationship has lost its spark. In reality, what they're experiencing is not failure, but a normal transition. The infatuation stage gives way to something deeper, but only if both people are willing to grow through it together. This shift can be jarring. If one or both partners cling too tightly to early expectations, they may begin to feel disillusioned when those expectations aren't met. Over time, frustration grows, not because love has disappeared, but because the effort required to maintain that love wasn't anticipated or prepared for. Unrealistic expectations create pressure and discontent. They set both people up to feel like the relationship is lacking, even when it's simply evolving. The challenge is not that love fades, but that love matures, and maturity asks more of us. It demands communication, empathy, patience, and a renewed sense of purpose. When this isn't understood, both partners may become emotionally distant, disconnected from the version of the relationship they once imagined. The resentment that follows isn't just about unmet needs. It's also about unspoken grief over what they thought would be. That grief, if left unacknowledged, builds into tension and bitterness. Ultimately, what sustains a relationship isn't perfection. It's presence. It's effort. It's recognizing that both you and your partner will change, and that maintaining love means continually choosing to rediscover and reappreciate one another along the way. Another significant source of unmet expectations stems from contrasting views on roles and responsibilities. Many individuals step into relationships with silent assumptions about what their partner should do or how they should behave. A husband might anticipate that his wife will take on specific household duties, while she may have envisioned a more balanced distribution of tasks. A wife may hope her husband will be more emotionally available, whereas he may have grown up in an environment where showing vulnerability was discouraged or even frowned upon. These underlying expectations are often never discussed openly, leading to disappointment when one partner fails to meet the other's assumptions. As time goes on, instead of addressing these disconnects through honest conversation, partners may begin to internalize their dissatisfaction. This builds a quiet sense of being unappreciated, misunderstood, or unsupported. Emotional support is another key area where expectations are frequently unmet. In the early stages of a relationship, couples naturally offer each other a high level of attention, affirmation, and empathy. They listen carefully, offer reassurance, and go out of their way to connect on a deeper emotional level. But as life grows more demanding and responsibilities multiply, this level of attentiveness often wanes. One partner may seek emotional comfort during a stressful period only to feel ignored or overlooked because the other is caught up in their own pressures. This dynamic can foster a sense of isolation and disappointment, creating a belief that their emotional needs no longer matter. Unmet expectations also often surface around intimacy. Many couples assume that physical closeness and desire will remain steady throughout their relationship. However, with time, differences in sexual desire, stress levels, and personal rhythms inevitably emerge. When one partner expects the same intensity of passion that marked the beginning of their connection, and the other experiences a natural decline, tension can arise. Rather than discussing their changing needs openly, some people withdraw, assuming that their partner is no longer attracted to or interested in them. This silent retreat can further widen the emotional gap, leading to rejection and resentment. Perhaps one of the most painful forms of disillusionment emerges from the belief that a relationship will deliver constant fulfillment. Many individuals enter into long-term partnerships thinking their significant other will complete them, eliminate their insecurities, or be the sole source of their happiness. But no relationship, regardless of how loving, can meet every emotional need. When someone expects their partner to provide all their joy and emotional balance, they place an unrealistic demand on the relationship. As this expectation goes unmet, feelings of emptiness and dissatisfaction grow. Instead of seeking growth or self-reflection, they may blame their partner for their unhappiness, missing the deeper truth that personal peace and contentment cannot be outsourced. Disillusionment doesn't happen all at once. It accumulates slowly, through unmet expectations, unsaid frustrations, and unresolved disappointments. The real risk lies in allowing these feelings to quietly build rather than confronting them through honest dialogue and mutual vulnerability. A relationship founded on rigid expectations is destined to suffer, but one nurtured with patience, understanding, and deliberate effort can evolve and strengthen through even the toughest seasons. A truly fulfilling and lasting relationship isn't maintained by wishful thinking or by placing blame. At the heart of every thriving partnership lies personal responsibility, the recognition that each individual must own their behaviors, decisions, and contributions to the relationship dynamic. When challenges arise, it's tempting to look outward, to believe the fault lies with the other, or to wait for them to change. But this mindset leads to inertia, resentment, and a slow unraveling of what was once a strong bond. The most transformative approach is for both people to take full accountability for their part. Personal responsibility begins with self-awareness. It involves a deep and honest reflection on one's behaviors, beliefs, and emotional triggers. Many of us bring unexamined patterns into relationships, shaped by past experiences or childhood dynamics. Someone who grew up in a home where conflict was suppressed might avoid confrontation altogether. Another who was rarely shown affection may struggle to express love, even when they feel it deeply. Without awareness of these ingrained habits, people unknowingly repeat them, leading to cycles of misunderstanding and emotional distance. Taking responsibility means recognizing these tendencies, understanding how they affect the relationship, and putting in the work to change them. Another vital part of personal accountability is communication. Many relationship struggles don't arise from the actions themselves, but from a lack of honest, open, and compassionate dialogue about those actions. People often assume their partner should instinctively know what they need or feel. They expect unspoken desires to be met, even when they haven't clearly expressed them. This leads to needless friction, because expectations that aren't shared cannot be fulfilled. Rather than waiting for a partner to guess or decode their emotions, individuals must take responsibility for expressing their feelings, needs, and boundaries directly. And not just directly, but in a tone and manner that invites connection instead of conflict. Taking ownership also means understanding that true happiness is not something a partner can provide in full. Many people carry the belief that their significant other should fill their emotional voids or repair their past wounds. But no partner can take on the weight of healing what only self-awareness and growth can mend. A fulfilling relationship is not about needing someone to make us whole. It's about choosing to be with someone from a place of wholeness. When each person takes charge of their own emotional well-being, they bring strength rather than dependency into the relationship. They show up not because they need someone to fix them, but because they want to share life's experiences, joys, and challenges with a companion. Another essential dimension of responsibility is making a sustained effort to nurture the relationship. During the early stages, effort comes naturally. Planning thoughtful dates, expressing affection freely, finding time to truly connect. But as routines set in and life becomes busier, effort can fade into assumption. Partners begin to expect that love should sustain itself without intentional input. But love, like any living thing, requires care. Taking responsibility means choosing again and again to invest in the relationship. It could be through small expressions of appreciation, spending meaningful time together, or simply being present and patient during difficult moments. Perhaps the most challenging aspect of personal responsibility is admitting when we're wrong. It's easy, in conflict, to dwell on how the other person hurt us. Much harder is stepping back, examining our own behavior, and acknowledging the part we played. It means apologizing sincerely, not just to diffuse an argument, but because we genuinely want to repair the hurt. It also involves being open to constructive feedback and committing to change the behaviors that damage trust and connection. At its foundation, personal responsibility shifts the focus from what the partner should or shouldn't be doing to what we can do to grow and support the relationship. It's a mindset that fosters healing, openness, and mutual respect. When both individuals in a relationship embrace this kind of ownership, communication improves, resentment dissipates, and love has the space to expand. Instead of waiting for change from the outside, each partner becomes a source of positive momentum. They bring their best selves forward, not because it's easy, but because they understand that love is not just a feeling. It's a choice made daily, and that choice begins with personal responsibility. Only when both people commit to this mindset can the relationship truly reach its full potential.